pretty much the same concept. I'm recording this because then you can refer back to it, and for those who didn't actually get a chance to be here with us, then they can watch and finish up. So technically, this is the last assignment. Not everybody's finished with all the other assignments, which is fine. I asked Ben to Quinones. He's the one who started who has a really clean code type of the Dutch game application, but it's very difficult to get. It takes a while to respond. I had already Eric is here. I had already had created the kind of the stripped version of his code. So you guys had anybody who was interested in looking at it could actually start from there, let's say, and take it from there. I don't want to give all of it out, so I'm hoping that he wants to do the final version presentation. Hi, Eric, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Okay, all right, thank you. So we're gonna wait just 2 more minutes, I think. Yes, it's 8:33. And Eric was saying that we're gonna try to do most of the exercises in that assignment, at least the ones that are a little bit, not complex, but you know, maybe you've forgotten how to do this or that. But the whole array list basics is a very analogous to the one we did for arrays. You will see the closest pair, the average, the spacing between them. Well, actually, you're gonna go this way because you see my reflection. So it's just using array list, but it's the same thing. That will be the end. That's the last assignment. Yay! Of course, this year is very different than other years. We do a lot more. And usually the last month and a half is for Arduino robotics, you know, with a small robot that I have. If anybody is interested, I have been lending robots to work at home. It's a very plain robot. It doesn't have a lot of bells and whistles. It just has one Arduino chip, a motor controller, and then what else? It has a sensor in the front, and that's pretty much all it has. So the idea, what I've done the last 2 years, is to actually get the robot, and I call it the class bot. Sometimes it's called the Teensy bot because the Arduino is called Teensy. And all the robot had to do was like perform like 4 or 5 different tasks, which is try to walk in a straight line, create a square pattern. What else? Learn how to go backwards. There was another one. Oh yes, detect objects in front of it, and then take a random direction because you couldn't get any more forward. I think we have some students who borrow already. 2 students did. So if you're interested, all the lessons, and they're not lessons, they're like tutorials, and then I put a lot of YouTube videos on a website called robotics.mrsceliasclasses.org, just like we have for the Java, but instead of Java, it says robotics. So if anybody's interested, you can borrow it for the whole summer. All right, so it is already 8:36, and I do want to get through most of the stuff, and anybody who cannot make it will be watching this video because I'm recording it. So let's go back to where we were. I'm going to share the screen. Yeah, right now. First of all, let's start from, do you have any questions about the material that we covered on, what was that, Wednesday? Yeah. Yes. So we got to I know we did number 1 together, right? Yeah. Now, I feel like I did something wrong, because here I'm asking you to have a list called anAList. And here we have my list. Can we take care of that now? To make it consistent? I mean, that's what I ask, and unfortunately, you can do a global replace, but then it will affect the beginning of it. So I'm just gonna do it by hand because we don't have that many. So it's up to you if you want to change it or not, but I'm gonna try to be consistent with my request in the assignment. And I'm sure I'm gonna forget one or two of them, so I'm gonna make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, and now I'm gonna compile it and make sure that I didn't miss anything out. Let's see if I forgot something. Oh, yes, what did I forget? I forgot to create it. So I'm gonna take this one. I'm not gonna change this because if I change this, it will affect everything that is commented out. And I don't wanna do that because I might need it. You might need it later on to test whatever we have over there. And so here's gonna be an A list. And that should pretty much do it, I hope. Let's see. Okay, good. And I'm gonna run it. Where's my project? Oh, there it is. I have to move it. There. All right, we're good. Let me put this down here so I can access this. And this over here. Also, I wanted to take care of one more thing. Some students who finish all the exercises in the assignment use another method that maybe you want to have it too. So let me see if I can get to, if you go back to the website, remember where we have this documentation for ArrayList from Oracle. If you go back over there, remember all you had to do was Java ArrayList Oracle. That will take you to this. One of the assignments can be done very quickly if you have the contains. Where's it contains? Should be by the C. Here. So I'm going to add this one there. Contains, and you can tell what the object is, and it will return a Boolean to tell you if in fact it's there or not. So I want to add that one. I think it will simplify. It will make one of the assignments easier to work on. It's like just one line of code, as opposed to having a loop. Why didn't it have? Oh, I know why. Yeah. All right. Let me make sure that we do have everything else. I think so. Do we have to remove? Yes, we do have to remove this empty size. Okay. All right. So I thought of bringing that to your attention because, again, one of the students who turn in all the exercises use that, and I said, oh, yeah, that might make it easier. All right. So this is assignment number 1. And if you need me to slow down, let me know. If not, I'm going to continue. Or if you have any questions about what I did also, of course. So we did this part. Actually, let me cut this off a little bit. It's too long. Some of the things are way too long. All right. Okay, I think I'm ready now. So let's do number 2. It says, it finds and prints with a message the largest value in an ArrayList. All right, I'll give you a couple of minutes to see if you can do that. And remember, we already have the anAList already filled up with 100 elements, random numbers between 1 and 1,000. Now, it's up to you if you want to make it inclusive of 1,000 or not, okay? So in my case, I didn't include it. So all my, the largest number I would get is 999, 999. All right, try to do number 1. I'm looking for something. Do you guys can see this, right? I don't see that green bar. Can you all confirm that you can see all the screens that I have on my desktop? Anybody there? Hello?
I see the full screen.
Okay, thank you. All right. So I'm going to do, one thing that I made a good number of mistakes you should know is make sure that you are inside main, the method main. So this, the yellow one, if you're using Blue Jay, you should have something like yellow. I'm going to bring it down because I kept on making mistakes the other day with a different class. I'm going to put it outside. So I am going to do number 2. I'll bring it up from the top. There you go. So I guess I'm going to need a variable. Oh, where's my number 2? Yeah. And I'm going to call that variable largest. And again, it's an integer. And here's for good programming practices to use the first element on the array list. I don't know why it's capital, but I'm going to leave it like that. Practices. And let me remove the cap. And then all I need now is for loop to go through all the elements. So starting with the first one as being the largest is the best way to go about it. So if I don't give you enough time to do it yourself, I apologize. I'm just trying to get through some of those assignments that require a little more work. Okay. So once again, just like we did, let me reformat this a little bit. I don't like it the way the layout is. There. You want to make sure that you're inside this yellow box. The yellow box is the one that it was open for the method main. If you're outside, it's going to give you errors. And I make sure it works by compiling it. Yeah. All right. So I have a variable called largest that will hold the first element of the array list. And then I'm going to start traversing through the array list, just like we did with the array. And I don't need to start at 0. Although if you start at 0, it's not going to make a difference. But logically, to me, it makes sense to start with the next one. And so I use the size instead of length, like we did for arrays, and then the increment. And here's my condition. Now, some of you might like to see this in the second line, which is fine. And since there is only one line of code associated with that condition, I don't really need the curly braces. A lot of people feel that there should be a curly brace no matter what, which is fine. You can do that. So if the new element that I'm looking at is bigger than the largest, then I'm going to assign it to largest. I'm going to run through the whole for loop to the end, and by the end it will hold the one that has the largest value. I'm going to compile it. I think I already did, and then I'm going to run it. I should have, wait, there's one more thing I want to do. I want to have a blank line between each of the exercises in the assignment. So I think I'm going to put it right here. Yeah. System. There you go. Now I'll have a little space over there. And now I'm going to run it. I don't think I cleaned up my output yet, but that's okay. Actually, there are too many things over here. Bless you. Let me get this out of the way so I don't get confused. And here we go. So it turns out to be the largest element is 997. So 998 and 999 didn't show up. So something that I did with one of the classes was the following. I want to show you what I did. You can watch me or you can do it too. I'm going to take this for loop. And it's no part of any exercise. So I'm going to put it right in here. And let me make a little bit of space between. So I started from 0. So I'm just curious to see parts of the array list. I want to know what's in there. So actually, I'm going to do it this way because this is going to be the answer to one of the exercises anyway. And I did element. So what I did is this, right? I need one more parenthesis, I'm not mistaken. Yeah, and I didn't start from 0. I kind of sort of any number. I don't know, like I don't know, 21. And then I took this one out of here. I put like 35. I don't know, something like that. So I selected at random in the low end of the array list. Wait, I need lines over here. And I'm going to put another one. I'm kind of inspecting what's in that array list. And of course, I'm doing at random. Let me clean this up. Too many things will show up on the screen then. And I did compile it, so I am going to just run it. And I want to see the random numbers. Oh, okay, run. Let me get rid of. Hold on a minute. Yeah. Yeah. A little bit different now. Let's see now. There you go. So take a look at this, the random numbers that show up. It looks very random. You can pick any other numbers. And I don't know, let's say we test at the end, towards the end, I don't know, 81. Let's make it, I don't know, 95. Oh, there we go. Interesting. They're random, 3 digits. You would expect a little bit more of a difference, but in terms of the numbers, but that's what random is. You never know what to expect. All right, so any questions so far? If there are no questions, I'm moving on. What's in 3? 3 is the average. Okay, so what about if you get started with 3? Remember, you're gonna need 1 or 2 variables outside the for loop to have the sum and then to calculate the average. Or the average can be calculated in the print statement itself. It's really up to you. I'm going to make sure that I'm staying inside. There you go. Make sure the average, make it a type that would allow you to allow you for decimals, but I'm going to skip that for a moment. And I am going to use a for loop. To add all the elements. Here's the, there we go. Make sure they start from 0. I have the plus equals. It's more readable this way. And then you could do one thing that some people like, other people don't like it. Let's see, what did I do? So you can have different options or different ways to do this part. You can have a variable called average of type double, right? Make sure that something is wrong here, by the way. I'm going to fix this. This is wrong. This should be, we want to cast it to be double, otherwise it's going to give you it in integer division, and we don't want that. There you go. Now you can do that. And then we can put it over here. Or you can put all of this in here. Whichever is more readable to you, will do. Let me compile it, make sure that I don't have anything funny going on. I'm going to clean this up because there are too many things. And I'm going to comment out my little thing that I ran over here, because I wanted to inspect what was in that array list in random places. We don't need it. All right, compile it, and now we're going to run it. There we go. So we have the largest value, and then we have the average. The average 492.16 is very good. It's close to it, right? Because if you have numbers, random numbers between 1 and 1,000, it should get very close to what? 500, right? I want to run it again. That's fun. And I'm going to comment this one out. So what else does it show up? Oh, the largest. Hold on. I'm just curious to compare every time we run it. And that's why you could, when you do like a simulation, right? You can put that for loop inside another for loop and run it many times. Oh, there is something on the smallest difference. Oh, I didn't clean it up. So let's run it again. And let's see. And then I don't know if you took A statistics, AP statistics, but that's pretty much what we call the sample size, the sampling average, which is you repeat this many times, and the more you repeat it, and then you find the average, you get very close to exactly the middle, which is 500. So as you can see, every time I run it, it's always oscillating around 500. So I think it's fun. I did AP statistics for 15 years, so I'm always kind of referring back to that. And I think computers are the best for statistics. Okay, I want to stay inside the yellow, so I'm going to do that. And I also want to see the box. There's my box, my yellow box. All right, so that was number 3. Any questions? All right, so let's do number 4. Let's see, what time is it? Whoa. Oh, okay, yeah, it's kind of starting. All right, so number 4 is what? Okay, so this one, 4 and 5 are the ones that usually students ask me for help. So let's do 4. All the numbers were separated with a space in one line. So I think, but all of you can do this. So get started while I'm doing my own shenanigans over here. And I always reuse a lot of the code, by the way. Since we're printing, what happened? Since we're printing on one line, what statement do you use? Print only, right? No print ln. And it says that it's separated by one space in my line, yes. So I'll put this over here. That's all I need. Except that I want separation and blank line with my print. Yeah. I should keep this close by. All right, let's see what it looks like. Let me clear this up. And make sure that I don't get too many print statements that I don't need anymore. Okay. So wait, this is the average. I don't need the average anymore. We already did that. Okay, here it is. Let me see if I can scroll. Yesterday I lost the scroll somehow. I'm not sure how I did that, but there should have been a scroll bar over here. Yeah, I don't know why. Yep. Anyway, so you might have it. I might have done something to my IDE that screwed it up. So this is the way it should look like. Any questions so far? All right, let's do number 5. Number 5 is the one that everybody, I get emails about it. So you're supposed to create a table of 10 by 10. Okay. And it tells you to use a printf. And students have forgotten what that is. Well, not everybody. I know you guys didn't forget. So we need a for loop again. Actually, we need more than a for loop. What does this remind you of?
It's like asterisks.
Yes, that's correct. Should remind you of the asterisks. I don't know why I'm typing asterisk with arrays. So you need 2 nested for loops. Let me see what I got over here. Somewhere here, I have something already. Yeah, there we go. So get started with those 2 nested for loops. I'm using I and J as the. Let me see if anybody's waiting. Oh yeah. Wait. I thought I already said yes to Eric. Eric, you left? That was weird. Eric, what happened?
My Wi-Fi is weird.
Oh, I'm
Like
sorry.
the connection dropped.
Yeah, are you okay now?
Yeah, I just sent you a message on Discord.
Yeah, when I heard Discord, I said somebody's probably waiting. Good job. All right, so we are, I don't know where you left off, but we did exercise, we are working on exercise 5. We did exercise 4, where is exercise 4? 3. Did you see us when we were doing exercise 3?
Yeah, I got my Wi-Fi dropped right before number 4.
Okay, there we go. So exercise number 4 is the average. So in the average, we have over here a variable that actually, I call it sum. This is going to be adding all the elements of the array list. So sum, I have plus equal to anAList get I. These will add them all together, and when it's finished, I'm going to cast sum to a double so I can do a decimal division. By the way, we don't need these parentheses over here. And so this is the number of elements in the array. So we divide the whole sum by the number of elements. And then we print it out. I commented out because I didn't want to have too many things being printed at every step of the assignment. So this is what it would look like. This is still here. No, it's not. While you copy that one or type that one or look at it, which one is this one? This with a space. Oh, and this one is the number 4 is another one that students ask, and that's just using the print statement. And I use the get method, and then I put a space, and this should give me this particular look. So while you're working on those 2, let me put over here number 5. So what's the tricky part of number 5? Let me shrink this. There are too many things over here. Maybe I can fit. This is the tricky part. Mostly because the students forgot how to use printf. So I am assuming that the 1,000 is not included. If you include 1,000, then I will make a field just one bigger, because it says 3 spaces between each of the numbers, each of the elements of the array list. So if I assume that 1,000 is not included, then I will have between 1 and 3 digits. So that will 6 positions for a number that the largest number of digits is 3, then it will give me 3 spaces. But if you include in 1,000, then I will make it 7. Also, in this particular example, I have it left justified. And we're going to try right justified. Now, let me do a auto layout so we can see the nested for loop a little bit better. The I and J only control the rows and the columns. What would you say the inner for loop controls? What does the inner loop with the J? What do you think it's doing? Aaron, what do you think it's doing? The inner for loop, right?
Formatting.
Formatting of what? This for loop is printing, right? But it's printing with an F in there, and it's taking 6 positions. So what do you think it's doing? It's printing what? Just the what?
It's printing the spaces.
Printing the elements with the spaces sideways. It's printing sideways. It doesn't go down to the next line. And the count variable over here that I did not define outside, I need that count over here. And count equals to 0. That count is the one that is giving me the next element in the array list, because I can use I and J for what, the consecutive elements of the array list. So I have to have an extra variable that will keep track of the next value in the array list. So how do I go to the next line then? Well, I printed sideways the first 10 elements of the array. Now I got to go to the next row. And so that's why I have an empty print line over here. Well, in this case, you can have a print line, or you can have printf with \n. It's up to you. So this is substituted for this one, or just system out print line will do too. Either one will do. And it will take you to the next line. And once it takes you to the next line, it goes back up to the first or the outer for loop. So what would the outer for loop control? It controls the rows, meaning it goes to the next row and counts them. Well, we know that we have a total of 10, so it's not going to keep on going forever. It says we only have 100 elements in the array list. So, are there any other questions on this nested for loop? If not, we're going to compile it. Eric, where are you?
I just finished copying down number 5.
Very nice, excellent. You're pretty good. I cannot type fast anymore. I was never a good typist, but I had gotten worse. Okay, let me bring this up a little bit so I can get to, there. Yeah, I can get to my project. Wait, let me clean this up a little bit. And let's see what it looks like. It looks really nice. Take a look. Perfect. This is from number 3. I thought I comment. Oh no, I didn't comment that. I will later. So here's a 2. And as you can see, the -6 over here is less justified, right? So everything is up against the left. For you guys will be, yeah, for you guys will be over here. The left margin. That's what's called left justified. So it's really random, although it's certainly not true random, it's pseudo random, right? right? Let's make it right justified. So I'm going to change this. I'm going to remove it completely. Let me comment out the other stuff, which I think is annoying. Where is it? Here. So we can focus just on the assignment that we're working on. Is there anything else? Yeah. We don't need all these blank lines. Okay. Okay, let's take a look at what it looks right justified. And I'm going to leave that one over here so we can compare them. Oh, did I compile? Yeah. There you go. Take a look at the difference. This is right justified. There's a total of 6 spaces, 3 for the actual numbers, and that would be if we don't include 1,000. So there should be 3 spaces over here in between each of these columns. If you include 1,000, then you have to change this to a 7. I did not include 1,000. Since it doesn't specify, then I did whatever I wanted. And here again, we have it with random selection of numbers. So I would say of all the exercises, this one is the most, I don't think it's the most difficult, but that's the one that I get asked many questions. Maybe because number 1, we're using printf. Number 2, because there is a variable in here that it has to tell you which one is the next element of the array list. Whenever you have a for loop, you think that you're going to use the index of the for loop as the index for the array list, but in this case we can't, because the for loops are only to control the number of elements you put horizontally, which are the columns, and then the other for loop, the outer for loop, is to count how many rows down you're going to go. All right, what's next? Before I continue, it's really 9:14. Let's go to the top. Let's take a look at all the assignments. We are right here, almost the middle, actually kind of past the middle. Let's take a look at 6. It says prompt the user for an integer and replace the 10th integer with this new one. So you already, did we do that set somewhere in here? If we didn't, then let's do it now. Yeah, we did. We did set. So that one you can do without any problem. It was number 6. What about number 7? It says prompt the user for a number and search for that number. All right, so for this one, there are 2 ways to do it. The long way is just a for loop that goes through all the elements until it finds the one that it's looking for. If it doesn't find it, then it should display, I believe, wait, what? Oh, a -1, sorry, I got distracted. So if you end the loop and you didn't find it, then you display a -1. And you can display a -1 as a string also, or a number, whichever. And a message saying that it didn't find it. The other way to do this, which is the reason why we added contains, and that is probably the best shortcut. So we went back to the documentation for ArrayList, and we picked up this other method because Maeve, when she turned in her assignment, she used contains, which I thought it was pretty cool. So contains will tell you right away if it exists or not. I mean, that's something you can do in Python very easily too. And I think we talk about that, the fact that Java has a lot of inconsistencies. Java was originally written over 20 years ago. And since then, a lot of languages have been coming out, more modern, more elastic, more easier to use. So Java is trying to keep up with the latest type of languages. And so it adds new features, and those new features are more comparable with the newer languages, but not comparable with the old style. And that's why there are so many inconsistencies. Which one was that? That was number 7. So it would be good if you try to do that on your own. Okay, this one, the 10th integer. Okay, this one is easy. We already did something like that. And yes, the last lesson, print the number of elementary, there's a number it contains. That's just printing the size, which we already did that too. Here. I skipped 8. 8 is tricky, but it's not. It's tricky because you have to kind of do your own interpretation. Many of you don't like that. Many of you want me to tell you what interpretation. No, I want you to think about this one. Think for a moment. We have an array list of 100 elements, and I'm asking you to remove every 10th integer. So remember, after you remove the first 10th integer, the array list is not 100 anymore. It has no 100 elements. It has 99 of them. And if you use a for loop, what do you do with the index of that for loop? Let's say I. Do you keep it the way it is? Do you do something to it so it picks up the next one up? It doesn't skip it, because remember, I removed that one, so everything else moved that. That would be one way to think about it. The other way to think about it is as follows: is you have 100 elements, and you target the 10th element, every 10th element, and you kind of, I don't know, you can store it away in an array, you can store it away in variables, whatever you want to, and then you remove it by the object. Remember, there are 2 removes, right? If we go down to the documentation, I told you all these methods will allow you to answer all those questions in the exercises. So you can remove by the index, that will be the first part of the discussion, or you remove it by the object. So it's either one of them you can use, and either one of the 2 approaches will be 100% right. So I want you to decide what to do about that. And I think, and it's not that it's complicated, it's that I'm asking you to make a decision about it. I don't want always to tell you what to do. Yeah, so everything else over here, there's nothing else is tricky, everything else you can do. So there are, 10 minutes left. You can get to work now, and I'll wait for you to ask me questions. I am not going to post, I'm not going to show in the screen any other code, because I want you to do this. I did the same thing for the other classes too. So you can work on it now in the next 10 minutes, or just email me when you have the questions, or feel confident that this is a piece of cake. Especially because the one that is left that requires you to think a little bit is really up to you. If you have a specific question though, ask for them. What do you think? What do you want to do? Do you have any questions?
I have a question.
Go for it.
So like, if you remove by the object, what happens if there's a duplicate before like the number you want to remove?
So if you, right, very good question. It only removes the first one. So if you want to remove it more than once, actually that's pretty good, Eric. So then to ensure that you, but remember, it's asking for the 10th, every 10th. So if there is a duplicate, it will not be the 10th unless there is another one that is that it could be a coincidence. It's a 10th. It's okay. You can also target that. So the remove by object would always take the first one, right? So it removes it. And then when you look for the next 10th one, then let's say it's a duplicate, it will find it because it's there. So it will not be any problem. It will work either way. Yeah? You convinced or not?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, because let's say if I was you, I would put those 10 elements, if I'm going to remove it by objects, in an array of 10 elements. I will put them there, and then I will remove each of them. So let's say the ArrayList has a, I don't know, 55 twice, and exactly on the 10th element. Oh, wait a second. You think that there might be a duplicate that is not in the 10th element. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah.
Okay, you didn't say that.
Oh, sorry.
That will screw it up. That would definitely screw it up. If there is a duplicate that is not in the 10th element, it will remove it from any location there is. Yes. So then you will have to have extra conditions. So I am assuming that there will not be duplicates outside the 10th, any of the 10th elements. All right, so again, one more time, I will leave it up to you. If by accident there are duplicates outside that, there are duplicates of the 10th element that doesn't belong in the 10th and removes it, I don't care. If you want to be more thorough and say, well, if it doesn't fall within those indicated indices, then it's not it, it's something else. That requires a little bit more work. So you can just remove the objects, even if they are duplicates, and I will be okay with that. I'm not expecting to work extra for that particular. I just want you to use the object if you want to remove object. So I'm okay with that. But if you were, let's say if you're doing a real application, then you will have to check that if it falls, that duplicate, it falls within those indices that you expect it to be. Because if you have 100, right? Let's say it's the first one will be on the 10th position, on the element, 10th position, 20th, 30th. If it doesn't fall in any of those, then you know that it's not the one you want to remove. Does that make sense? Are you thinking? All right. Oh, maybe we lost him again. All right. So any other questions for those who are still with me? No questions? Okay, so I'm going to let you go because I really want you to work on your own. I will be posting this video on Edmodo, period 5 only, later today. Before the end of today, it will be posted up there. Because I want everybody else who was not in the classroom and the Zoom classroom to do work on their own. That's pretty much it. I'm trying to meet again to do fun stuff. So remember, one thing is that I'm trying to get Ben Quiñones to actually show the last version, the final version of the Arch game for those, because I have a little bit more than 50% of the students who didn't turn it in, not just in your classroom, the 3 classes that I have. And you still have time for my application, you still have time for all of the things. I do want things to be finished by June 10th. I should put that in a post because I have to turn in grades by the 16th. So I'm going to be putting nice after today. I was waiting for today to put it out there. And nice sign to everybody to know, for everybody to know that that has to be turned in by the 10th. So if you don't have any questions, I'm going to let you go. And I'll continue mine. Other Zoom meeting starts in about 4 minutes. Are we all good?
Yep.
Bye. Nobody wants to say
Thank you.
bye? You're welcome. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.